Actually, I'm thinking you don't need an introduction. Thanks, Roseanne.
Well, I'll try to be brief because I know you're not here to listen to me. You want to hear the speaker. But, next slide. I like to describe the greenhouse at Texas Discovery Gardens as the place where the magic happens. It's a busy hub of camaraderie. Some of the volunteers have described their time at the greenhouse as an opportunity to completely clear their minds of troubles, anxiety, and stress. Others proclaim that they learn something new every time they volunteer. Whatever your motive, I think you will enjoy volunteering at the greenhouse. The stated mission of the greenhouse is to educate the public about the benefits of growing native plants and to offer varieties not otherwise readily available. Next. Okay, this one I put in, where the magic happens. Next. But it's not that kind of magic. It's magic working in the soil. Texas Discovery Gardens has 7.5 acres of wonderful diversity of garden styles and botanical collections. For those of you who don't know, we're located in historic Fair Park. You enter at gate 6 and follow around to the greenhouse. The next one. We do all kinds of things. We grow plants from seeds. Next. Okay, we have various sales, and speaking of, we do have one this afternoon from 4 to 7. So if you have a bare spot in your garden and you need some more plants, come see us this afternoon. Next. As you can see, our volunteers do all kinds of projects, including upsizing pots, weeding pots, as I mentioned before, planting seeds. Next. Just a few of some of the beautiful plants. Next. So, if you have any questions about the greenhouse, we're there most weekdays from about 8 in the morning until noon. And I do encourage you to email me if you would be interested in volunteering. I will be taking a little bit of time off this summer periodically, but we're there most weekday mornings. And I would like to say that during the calendar year 2022, we had a total of 69 gardeners who volunteered a total of 3,374 hours of service in the greenhouse. Our plants find homes throughout the Metroplex. We're very proud of what we do, and we have a wonderful time doing it. Next. So if you would like to contact me, my name is in the VMS, and you can also go to the TDG website and look for volunteers, and that gives you a link to apply as a volunteer. So, I've heard that brevity equals brilliance. So, with that, I'll welcome you to come out and join us where the magic happens. Thank you.
Thanks, Roseanne. Thank you. Next. All right, now we have Lisa Herrick, who's going to talk about the Water Garden Society of North Texas. And this is not Lisa, by the way. This is...
I want to introduce Lisa, who a lot of you probably already know. She's the president of the North Texas Water Garden Society. And there is a pond tour coming up in a couple of weekends' time, so there's a brochure that she'll be very happy to sell you to go on the pond tour. I agree with Roseanne that brevity is brilliant, so I'll just hand you over to Lisa.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Oh, I can hear it now. I hear it myself. And we're going to try this too. Please pray that it works. It does not. I might. Oh, did it work? Oh, it was you? Or it was me? It's not you, it's me. It's so exciting. My name is Lisa Herrick. I'm with the North Texas Water Garden Society. That's a lot of words. And so sometimes we're hard to find on Facebook. We're hard to find on Google. NorthTexasWaterGardenSociety.org. So I hope you'll look us up, and I hope that I say something today that intrigues you to build your own little water feature or your own water garden or a giant koi pond, or at least to get it started that you go on this year's pond tour. The dates are June, I guess I have to stand just the right spot. Okay, it's just a delay, okay. June 10th and 11th. So I know you guys have a big volunteer event on the 9th, so just go ahead and mark your calendars. June 10th and 11th, you're gonna go see 38, or as many as you can, of beautiful ponds. Most of us started out as gardeners, and it's just kind of think of this as a garden tour on steroids. So everybody's got some sort of a water feature or pond. $20 gets you and as many people that you can fit in your car to go see as many of these ponds as you want to. So I invite you to get your guide today from me or run over to North Haven Gardens whenever, but I would recommend that you do not wait to the last minute and say, oh, that pond tour is today, let's go on that, because there's a map. You can imagine with 38 gardens, you kind of have to coordinate that. So there's a map. Some of us are on Saturday day, some of us are on Saturday night on the Enchanted Garden night tour, and then some of us are Sunday, and some of us are all, and some of us even do by appointment through September 25th or 6th or so. So lots of fun out there, and if you're planning on doing any kind of water feature, this is the best place to go and learn what people have done that they thought they did really well and what they would do differently. We do not have docents, so you're gonna talk to the people that own the house and tend to the garden. Again, my name is Lisa Herrick. I'm president, I think I've been president for like a decade or something, of the North Texas Water Garden Society. I'm also a certified koi keeper, and that was certified through Koi Organization International. And that was a grueling process in which I actually did a surgery on a koi fish. So I managed to put him to sleep, remove some little growth things that were on his nares, or you might think of as like his nose. And then I woke her back up, and Fiona swims in my pond. So if nothing else, you can come meet Fiona. I'm also the chief designer, engineer, and major laborer in the garden. I like to call my garden Garden Whimsy. It's a labor of love with accent on the labor. My garden is certified wildlife habitat. I've been featured on the McKinney Garden Tour, been declared by some committee Water Gardener of the Year and Koi Person of the Year. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek of Garden Whimsy. I even had a sign made. I don't even spell whimsy right. I wanted to make sure it was very whimsical. I bought this little house in December of 2012. I was downsizing, and this is what I bought. Everything was shaped into a little mushroom cloud and had lots of little soldier bushes up against the front, and Lord, there was 3 rows of soldiers. This is the glimpse as you walk out the back door to the left. Some decrepit deck, lots of untended garden. Red tip petunias line the back. Woo! That almost made me not buy the house. Because it's not a matter of when, or it's not a matter of if, but when, right? More of the garden. I have lots of pictures, guys. And this was to the right side. So there was a lot of this decking. And I declared that my first project, it had to go. You know how when you lay a deck, it's got to be moon-shaped down on the wood when you're looking at the end. Note to self, if you don't know that, it needs to be moon-shaped down. Otherwise, it flips and it becomes a trip hazard. And I knew that deck was going to kill me. But I saw potential. I bought the house for the garden, not so much the house itself. House turned out okay, but I'm always outside. I like to move around. And we think, well, why do we all do this? Well, it's for all these critters, right? We've got squirrels. Sometimes I get mad at the squirrels because they want to build a nest in my gutters. I don't want that. I have a lot of Dutchman's pipe vine and the caterpillars that go with it, and we do about 6 to 10 cycles a year with those beautiful butterflies. Lots of birds, and there's a daddy cardinal that comes to visit, dragonflies galore. There's many possums. I don't see them all the time, but I could do a whole talk on possums. I love possums. And, of course, my fish. And, yes, they all have names. So first thing that had to go, those soldiers. Cut them at the knees, right? Backyard. This garden was actually an area that, well, later you'll see, became the pond. Yeah. Oh, this is all the before. This is all the deconstruction. That's the backyard before I put the pond in. So the lady I bought it from had a little tiny garden. This was it. The only thing remaining from that original garden is I did move the iris over to a corner, so you can see that too. It doesn't bloom real often, so. This was the first iteration of the garden. I'd love for you guys to all come and see it on the pond tour because it's expanded. You know how we are, right? You go to a plant sale at the Texas Discovery Garden and you're gonna not buy anything and you come home with a carload. So these guys have grown up, and then there's been lots more added to it. So the whole front yard is all garden except for maybe 12 by 15 area that is not sod anymore. Faux is the way to go. The day that lawnmower went out of my garage and down the driveway into its new home, bye-bye. I haven't missed it at all. I especially don't miss line trimming. Building a pond for me was an urgent situation because from the previous home and the previous one, this is my 8th pond. So I had fish that had names that needed a pond. That very first year in January of 2013, I committed to be on that year's pond tour. I needed a goal, right? We all need a deadline. There was no hole in the ground at that point, but I had a quarantine tank with a trash can filter. Okay, the little laser doesn't work, but hey, we're doing good. I engaged some help because there's building a 3,000-gallon pond. I knew I was not going to be able to dig that hole personally. So I got some guys that were firemen on the side and pond builders in the day, and they helped me build a pond. My topography in the backyard is a severe slope, so there's probably 10-foot difference from the grade at the house to the back fence. So I knew I needed a retaining wall too. So that's what they're doing here. They started with the retaining wall. There's me trying to dig the hole. I didn't get very far. Texas clay, lots of fun. This is called a biofall, so this is actually my waterfall. It's about a 100-gallon reservoir, and it serves as a small bog. So this was the only filtration that I had initially, but we kind of designed it so I could add better filtration as we went on, and I got, annual bonuses and things like that. So it's all dedicated towards the fish. Here's the giant hole completed, and you can see the reservoir put in for the waterfall. I didn't want anything super tall because with the taller you go, the more evaporation you have. That equals labor. Looks pretty, sounds pretty. This is high enough for me. Anytime you're building a pond, one of the first things that you do besides designing and picking a spot for it to go in is you want to put some sort of an underlayment. And you can buy underlayment and pay for it. Or you can be like me and recycle. So I have a friend that owns a flooring store, and I said, I need some used carpet. Are you sure you don't want a remnant? No, I don't want a remnant. I want used carpet. And then you're going to place it in the hole, whether you're doing a water feature or you're building a pond. Just put it in the hole. You want the hard side to the dirt, soft side in toward the liner. Okay, this is going to do a couple of different things. It's going to protect your liner from roots that may grow, because you're going to add plants around this, right? But it's going to help keep those roots from penetrating your liner and causing a hole. Leaks are not fun. The other thing is, have you ever noticed when you dig in the dirt and it's beautiful soil, and then about 2 months later, there's like rocks that have just magically popped up out of the dirt? That's another thing you're protecting from, because those rocks can do that under that liner. And then the guys, this piece of liner was one big piece of liner. I think it weighed 400 or 500 pounds. Another thing I just couldn't do. So the guys did all that, placing some rocks around the edge. So it all starts out really ugly, and then it gets pretty later on. This is the liner in, smoothing it out. Did anybody have a waterbed in the 70s? You know how you had to smooth out the wrinkles under that waterbed before you filled up the water? Same thing with a liner, okay? There's also printing on the liner that says Goodyear IPDM 30 mil, like across lines in it. So I'm a little retentive, if you might say, so I'm out there scrubbing all that stuff off before we put water in it, because I don't want to see that. This is a picture of the filtration as it is now. So you see the big round thing that's semi-submerged? That's an actual filter, and it has like a Jandy valve on it. And everything was done kind of at this level for me, because 10 years ago I wasn't young. And I'm certainly not heading in the right direction on that. So I wanted to build this with aging in mind so that I'm not having to get down on the ground without a plan on how I'm going to get back up. So almost everything is right at this sort of level for me so that I'm not having to get on my knees. The only thing I do have to go below grade is the skimmer. So there's a piece of filtration or Metalla in there that I've got to get that out a couple times a week to physically clean that off. But I designed the equipment on this so that I knew I wanted to add this kind of filter whenever the budget would allow. This is the pond after filling it. It took 6 hours to fill it. This is what it looked like 3 days after the 2013 pond tour. So when I committed, we've got to put these books together, and they're going to go to the printer in April. I didn't even have a hole in April. So there was no way to do any kind of photographs, so we decided to do something funny, and in the description we just said, hey, it's going to be maybe done, but probably not, but come see the guts to a pond. I had 95 people out that day because they wanted to see the guts to the pond. Yes, ma'am? 3,000 gallons. So it's about 12 by 15, about the same size as that sod up front. Kind of like a swimming pool. It's 3 feet in the shallow end, and it's 3.5 feet in the deepest end. So by the waterfall, it's 3. Down by this skimmer, it's 3.5. You want some sort of a slope, just a little bit of a slope. Sometimes you'll do a bottom drain. You'll slope to the center. So there's different ways to design it, but that's what I chose to do. I threw a corgi in it just yesterday because he was getting too close, and I said, let's just see if you can swim, Bubba. That was the first thing that I did with, I had 3 Yorkies when I moved in and a golden retriever. The golden retriever would have been able to get out, but I have plant shelves kind of back in by the feeding deck that are really steps, because I thought, what if this little Yorkie falls in? I don't want to see this, you know. And when dogs get in water, like a lot of animals, they're gonna like try and do the circle and get over to the closest side. And I kind of got from that perspective, and I thought, what would they be looking for? What would they recognize? And so I sighted my back door, so my steps are strategically placed to get them towards the door and the doggy door so that they could safely get out. So they were thrown in multiple times and taught to swim to those stairs to get out. I babysit and foster dogs too, so I've trained a lot of them. But the corgi's a new guy, and he hadn't been in, but he was getting precariously close. They're pretty heavy on the butt, so he was doing a lot of paddling, but I felt the need to kind of help him a little bit because I think he was going to butt sink. This is what the garden looks like. Not even now. This was about 5 years ago. Since then, I've added an Acoma crepe myrtle back behind the waterfall. That's a dwarf crepe myrtle that's about 8 feet tall with big, huge white blooms, so it pulls those branches down. It makes it very pretty and swoopy. I'm trying to get the look of a Japanese maple, but that's full sun there, so I couldn't do that until I went to Metro Maples, and they have developed one Japanese maple that takes full sun. So there's also a Japanese maple back there where you see the fence. There's those 2 trees. So let's talk real quick about pond construction, then we'll talk about the pretty stuff, okay? So remember, we want to pick a site, and so we got to have a plan. In that, you got to pick a site. Where is it? How big is it going to be? What kind of equipment do I need? So you're going to need to think fast forward. Am I going to have goldfish? Am I just going to have plants? Am I going to have koi? All my koi started out this big. They're bigger than my Yorkies. They weigh more than my Yorkies. You got to have some sort of a budget. And then add some money to that, because there's always surprises, right? You're going to want a bigger fish. You're going to want bigger filtration. You're going to, want. It's just like any project, right, guys? Then you're going to dig a hole. You're going to add the underlayment. What did we use? Carpet, yeah. If you're doing a real small water feature, you could use some old towels or a blanket, some cardboard. That's a great trick, is like when we're trying to clear grass so we can make a new bed, cardboard. But I like the carpet because it doesn't deteriorate fast. Then we're going to add a liner, smooth out the wrinkles, if we could only do that for all the other body parts, right? Add your equipment. Are you having a waterfall, a skimmer, filtration, bottom drain? These are all things that you want to consider. So I'm talking you out of this pond thing, right? How are you going to finish the edges? Some people like a square. Some people want a round. Some people want a stream. Some people want concrete edges. You can make it look like a swimming pool. You can turn a swimming pool into a koi pond. There's all kinds of things that you can do. This is a great way to use your imagination. And then just add water. All right? Ponds operate on a nitrogen cycle, and think of that like a spoke on a wheel. If any one of the parts is missing, you got some lumps and bumps, right? So nitrogen cycle involves water, plants, fish waste, goes into the filter, creates good bacteria, gobbles up the ammonia, returns that back, plants eat the nitrogen, the nitrates. So without that, like if you're just going to have a pond with plants and not fish, you've got to figure out what kind of filtrate. It's all different. So lots of questions to ponder with all that. Let's talk about some pretty stuff. So there are water plants, we've got land plants, and then we've got some stuff in between that you might not know likes wet feet or how wet their feet can be. This is a lily called a Juan Visa. It is non-hybridized. This is a natural lily, and this is not photoshopped. Every 10th bloom, you're going to get one that's half and half. That is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. It fascinates me every time it happens. But it's a variegated flower, so it's got the pink and yellow in it with variegated leaves. That's a real unique feature to this particular lily as well. This is a lance leaf arrowhead. This plant is about this big from here. Let's say this is the top of the water, so the plant part is this big, and then it sends out these big spires that remind me of an orchid. So that is probably the most talked about plant when you come to my garden to look at a water plant. People are, what's that? What's that? So it's a lance leaf arrowhead. This is a tropical lily, and they come in all sizes. So you can have a little lily as tiny as a quarter to as big as a salad plate. Pretty amazing. Seeing a bunch of little lilies there. These are small tropicals, and that's next to a lemon bacopa. So you can see this water plant bacopa is very different than the land plant that we've got the little white and little pinky lilac flowers. This one, if you break off a piece, much like lemon thyme, smells like lemon. It's just, and it's very fragrant as you walk by. It smells really nice. Here's a plethora of lilies. Lilies open and close about 3 days in a row. They tend to open around 9 or 10 o'clock, and then they'll close up in the full heat of the afternoon, like around 3. So if you're wanting, and that's not very good time to photograph lilies. So it's very challenging to get a good photograph of a water lily because the sun is blazing at them. Yeah. Yes?
Is it ceramic?
Yes.
It is. Are there 2 ceramics?
There's 3. There's actually 3, but there's 2 right there. So those brothers like to hang out together. And they're on a post that has a base that's supported, that I got it from a really awesome artist friend who has been at Cottonwood until this last year. Her husband decided he couldn't make the trip from Santa Fe anymore. So her name is Samadhi. She does beautiful outdoor ceramics in all kinds of unique animals. This is called a mosaic plant, and each one of these is a little tiny leaf that just floats on the water. It's so pretty. The more sun it gets, the more color it gets on these leaves. I have lots of unique things in my garden. I like to upcycle, like that decking stuff. You'll see what happened to that. This is an old mailbox that I did some welding and put it on a stick with a little foot pedal. And so I keep all my garden tools right there by the back door because I don't want to walk the whole 20 feet to the garden shed. It's a nice step saver. And it's cute. People ask lots of questions. A kiddo's bicycle. I have unique friends that give me very unique gifts. For a birthday, I got a fire plug. And if you got a fire plug, you got to have a topiary dog, right? I got sick of that grass strip between the sidewalk and the curb, and I wanted to turn that into a perennial and succulent garden. I did leave some area that has the faux turf on it, just so when people come to visit, they have a way to get in and out without scratching their car. But I went ahead and added an address block with a solar light on it. Richardson rocks, little gift. This was a piece that my little mini-me next door, she was 3 when I met her, she's 13 now. I am not cool anymore. But she took some of her baking skills and, we talked about making cake batter. Same thing as mixing concrete. Super easy. She separated all the rocks, and there's one right up here that's heart-shaped, and she knew exactly where to put that rock. So really unique creation in the garden. Remember those red tip petunias? They did come down, and I realized how hideous that house is behind me. And they have two yappy little dogs that I couldn't walk across my own kitchen inside without them. And I love dogs, but shut the heck up. So I designed and built this wall thinking I'm just gonna need it for 3 or 4 years, but it's become such an integral part of the garden, and it makes the conversation area so private. But the dogs still bark at me. I'm gonna have to go to the chiropractor. This is some more concrete work. I just took some elephant ears that I had and used them to stamp, and then painted them like giant caladiums, so you'll see a few of those scattered. This is a step right in front of, that is a faux rock, and it covers my skimmer. So that's that one thing that I gotta get down on my knees to get that filter out of there and clean that periodically. And you can see all the pipevine swallow there. I mean, the pipevine. This was inserted during COVID. We still had a pond tour in 2020, but it was by appointment only, masked up, gloved up, and I wanted to remind everybody to wash your hands. Little chicken feeder. You know those little solar lights that you get at a certain blue box store? It's cheaper just to buy new ones every year than it is to buy batteries, but I keep the little crackle glass because I think it's pretty. I just use it as mulch around the base of a dwarf black contorted locust. So it makes an interesting feature on there. Remember the deck? Reuse, reuse, recycle. I stacked that wood up, I got rid of that deck, stacked it up for a couple years, and it became my shed. Everything was recycled on this with the exception of the posts. So this shed is built like you would build a fence. So it's got posts, and then I just enclosed it, basically. You wanna make sure you measure between the 2 posts for your door to make sure you get the biggest thing that you need to get in there. So in this case, it was the lawnmower until it went away. The screen door, because everything's a slope, you can't open the door out, and there was no room to open it in, so I thought, what do? I'm gonna make a faux barn door. So I took 2 eye hooks, put them on the top of the door, slid them on a pipe, you know, that gas pipe stuff, and just put some WD-40 on it and slide it back and forth. I know Maggie saw this the other day. Felix was trying to figure that one out. I don't know what happened there. Did y'all get all that? How much time do I have left? 10 minutes, okay. Here's some more whimsy. So we've got fairy gardens. The gnomes do not allow fairies to drink and fly. So you see the little clothesline in the back? That's to hang their wings up. There's another fairy garden that actually has a koi pond in it, so they're on the pond tour as well. And then this is my version of pothead. We all have scarecrows and things like that. You guys were talking about pots earlier, so I just take it to a different level. And the succulent that's her hair is actually fishhook. I could not find that anywhere this year. So if you guys find it, tell Sue and she'll let me know. Some plants that work on the land and in the water. I want to see if I can get back there, guys. It's just not layering at the speed of light, so my apologies on that. Texas star hibiscus, you will see in my pond, fully in my pond. So it's in a big 5-gallon bucket. Home Depot and Lowe's are great, but they're not the right color. So my secret is to go to Jason's Deli. They have black buckets, and they will sell them to you for $2 or $3. They make great pots as well. But I need something sturdy, you know, roots in a Texas star hibiscus. Louisiana iris, canna, all of those can grow on the land, as you know, but you can also put them in your water, whether it's in a bog or a separate pot. Umbrella plant can be both land and water. There's something called a pennywort, moneywort, call it a lot of different things. I had it in the water. I broke off a piece. I toss it back behind the retaining wall. I have basically, you know, ground cover. That is all that stuff. It loves it in the land. It can be a little invasive. Almost everything that's a water plant can be invasive, so be careful with it. A couple of illegal plants, water hyacinth. No, no, no in Texas. You can be fined $200 per plant. If you have one plant, the next day you'll have 2, the next day 4, the next day 8, the next day 16. It can cover your whole pond in a matter of a week or so. So that's a no-no in Texas. Water lettuce is another one. You might see it online. It's not illegal in colder climates, so be careful with that. I want to talk to you guys about doing your own water feature. So as you can see, my 1958 GE washing machine has become a water feature. The mosaic plant is in there, and then some dwarf parrot's feather, dwarf red parrot's feather is over to the right. And it is home to 2 little fantail goldfish named Tango and Cash. And you can meet them on June 9th. I'm sorry, June 10th, excuse me. You're volunteering on the 9th. This is an old water pump, as you can see. When you're building something like this, you got to kind of consider the splash, how high it's going down and where the splash is going to go. It was going out too far, so I added this bucket below is actually a pig nurser. So you put little nipples on the end of all those little things where the water's coming out, and there's even a heater underneath there. But I use that to slow down the water and get it more targeted for where the reservoir is. And let's talk about how to make this on your own. This was a rock that someone gave me, one of those cool gifts. It had this little depressed area in it that holds just the right amount of water for a bird bath. All I needed was a masonry bit, drilled a hole, and then I built a reservoir down below, just like building a pond, only on a smaller scale. So you need something like this aqua blocks. So that looks like a giant milk crate. My very first water feature that I did like this, I just used old milk crates that I had around the house. I don't know how I ended up with milk crates, but they landed at my house. You need liner and a shovel, and it's very important to have a level. There are also kits that you can have. You just call it a pondless water feature base, and it's like looks like a big Rubbermaid tub with supports in it. You dig a hole, put it in there. That's probably the easiest thing to start out with, but I wanted to show you guys something a little more difficult so that you can back it down if you want to. Pick a site, make sure there's no utilities. You need to decide if you're going to need electricity or not, so how are you going to get the extension cord there, or is it something that you can use a solar pump on? Solar pumps are getting better and better, but they don't have a lot of lift. So on this pump that I'm going to show you how I built, I need lift from the very bottom of the hole to where the water comes out. So even though it only looks like 2.5 to 3 feet up outside, I need a fountain pump with 5 to 7 feet of lift. So that's one of those numbers that you'll read on a pump. You're digging a hole so that this is called an aqua box. You're going to dig a hole so that that fits in there. So you just keep putting it in there, leveling it to make sure you get it deep enough. Then you pull it back out of there, and you're going to add your liner. It could be cardboard, towels. I used carpet samples. Then you're going to put the liner in, then the aqua blocks, and then you want to backfill the sides. Okay, so I folded the liner over the top of the aqua blocks because I don't want all this dirt going in there because that's my actual water reservoir. And I'm gonna fill in all the way around except for like a pool pocket over to the side. That's for my pump. I've never met a pump that doesn't go out in 2 or 3 years. So you don't want it underneath that aqua box or you gotta tear your whole fountain apart. You need some place where you can drop it in, pull it out to be replaced, okay? This particular, the rock, I only needed like 2.5 to 3 feet of lift because that rock is only about 18 inches deep or so, 14 inches deep. But I needed to go to the bottom of the reservoir. So then, after you've got your liner, you're just making it pretty around the edges, and then you're putting some sort of a decorative cover over the top of that. This rock could have been a big vase that bubbles over. It could have been a pump. It could have been anything. I mean, you find something cool, and it could be a trumpet. You know, you can turn anything into a water feature. With these, you don't have to worry about the nitrogen cycle. So you could just add chlorinated water in there. You don't have to worry about killing any fish. And I do have handouts here for you guys if anybody's interested in doing something like this. Couple of things that you're going to want. So here is an example of a pump. It's only going 70 gallons per hour. You could get 200 gallons per hour, just depending on how much lift you need. And then this kind of tubing is very easy to buy at one of those orange or blue box stores. A lot of this stuff, I know they have got pumps. They've got pond, like aquatic supplies over at North Haven Gardens. And I saw Rusty was mentioned earlier in your program. So they've got a lot of these features. This kind of tubing, again, probably Home Depot. If you're going to do something like that washing machine, you're probably going to need some sort of a little filter to go with water movement. A lot of times people are concerned about what's going to happen if I've got this water sitting on my patio. As long as the water's moving, you're not going to get the mosquitoes, all right? And put some goldfish in there. Those eat the mosquitoes, whether the water's moving or not. You can even add like the mosquito dunks to make sure. Mosquito dunks, I don't really want my dogs drinking that water, but they say it's safe for them, so you don't really have to worry about that either. You can build a filter out of supplies at your local dollar store. That's just a lingerie whatever you call this, a pantyhose thing, and little bath scrubbies. And then I put my pump in here, my little tubing, and now I've got a filter, and I'm just going to clean that maybe once or twice a year. There's all kinds of filtering that you can use. You can still get pantyhose at the dollar store. You can use this kind of thing, but just anything that helps get out that debris. This is after about a year with fish in it. So, it's going to stain. This is going to build up good bacteria, so you want some of that. So I've got 2 different handouts up here. One to build like a small, like if you wanted to just build a small little patio water feature. Think of it just like you do when you're organizing any kind of urn, thriller, spiller, and a filler. So 3 kinds of water plants. You could do a big umbrella palm or a canna, something that's really big, something that's a little bit shorter, and then one that's fallen over like that little parrot's feather. You don't want the big size parrot's feather because that's too big. But just something to stir the water around, some fish. They're so fun to watch. They're like, if you like dogs, fish are just like dogs. They like to come up and say hello. A reminder again for the pond tour. I've got guides here. We're going to give one of them away as a door prize today. I've also got a couple of books available. If anybody's interested, you're welcome to have these books. One is on building filtration and one is on basic pond construction. So I think I've got some more out in the car, and if not, I can always mail it to you. I want to thank you guys so much for having me, and Remember, garden whimsy is the labor of love, accent on that labor. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lisa. How about another round of applause for Lisa? Thank you. And when is her garden tour? Thank you.
And this is what you'll see me from behind. Minus the lava beer.
Thanks, Lisa. All right. So we are very fortunate today that Raincatchers has donated the remaining plants from their plant sale as giveaways for today's meeting. And those plants will be at the north end of the facility where the gardens are at Temple Emmanuel. So when you're done here, take a short walk over, maybe a little longer than a short walk, but it's on the other side of this building, and help yourself to those plants. And thank you to the folks at Raincatchers for donating those. Next month's meeting will be Saturday, June 24th, 11:30 to 1. Theme will be strawberries and cream, so we'll have a little snack. Thank you, Sue. And that will be at CC Young, which is at West Lothar and East Lothar, and Northwest Highway. It's, let's see, it's east of Abrams, west of Audelia. Off Northwest Highway, yes. Sorry? Yes, thank you. I'm sorry? I can't hear, sorry. Is the meeting in a point? Oh, do you know which building? The Point. Thank you. Good question. Oh, will there be a place to have lunch, eat lunch during the meeting? Yes. Thank you. Very good question. Next slide. Okay, so we've got several great options for you all today. Roseanne has personally selected these plants from TDG for today's raffle. We also have Jan Weir's plants, six plants from Jan Weir. Do you have that list again that I can read out? So we have, from Jan Weir, 3 yellow water lilies, 1 yellow water poppy, 1 black gladcock iris, and 1 pickerel weed. And where will those plants be?
Out of the door.
Okay. Okay. So, and also the plants from TDG are also in a milk crate right outside the door where you came in. Y'all have your raffle tickets ready? Okay. So the first one is, I'll call out the last 3 digits, 623. 623? No? Next is 521. We have a winner. So yeah, the plants are right outside the door over here. Next is 569. I see another winner here. Next is 565. 565? Thank you. Congratulations, Barry. Next is 539. 539. Next is 613. There you go. Next is 611. 611. Yay, Abby. Next is 593. 593. Then we have 562. Woohoo! Next is 584. 58. Are you 584? Yep. 556. 556? Yes, we have a winner. Next is 574. 574. Ah, Beverly. $583. 583. I see a hand back there. $586. Leslie. $572. Did I see? Cynthia, is that you? Congratulations. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry? Yeah. And the Pontour.
So you got to be thinking about your 3 best friends, or the really skinny ones, your 8 best friends. 563.
563. Alan.
Start planning now.
Thank you all. I believe that can